Okay, we have some like actual unironic covert ops statecraft stuff. It seems as though, based on evidence that is substantial enough that it's been presented by intelligence agencies, agents from India have assassinated a Sikh leader in Canada. Actually, a pretty huge deal. The accusation, Article 5 now. Not quite. So it seems that Hardeep Singh Nijar, which I assume I'm pronouncing incorrectly, my apologies. It seems as though he was wanted by the Indian government for allegedly being a active member and leader in the Khalistan Tiger Force, which is a Sikh extremist militant group. They're small, 500 members. Um, I don't think there's a enormous bulwark of Sikh militancy, but it seems as though India was under the impression that the Sikh leader was a current member of the organization and assassinated him. Now, this is actually insane. Now, so to be clear, the Indian government has rejected the allegations. Now, I have no way of knowing whether or not the allegations are true or not. We're literally talking about like intel agency spycraft stuff. I am not qualified to assess the validity of this information. However, I really, really, really do not think that Canadian intelligence forces would just publicly disseminate information that India was responsible for an assassination on their soil without good reason. I just do not think they would pull that one out for fun. So I'm going to operate on the assumption that it is, in fact, the case that India did order the assassination. So we don't usually talk about this stuff because this stuff is pretty rare, but I hope everyone understands that assassinating foreign citizens on the soil of the foreign government is a huge deal. This does not happen often, not even close, especially between nations as large and reputable as India and Canada, respectively. Also, like the idea that I have no idea what's going on. This doesn't make any sense. Even if this person was a mastermind for the Sikh militant organization, I sincerely doubt their presence over there in Canada was threatening enough to the Indian government that they needed to pursue this route, and it wouldn't have been better for them to, like, I don't know, take up a claim with the Canadian government. It's very, very strange. Like this is such a strange assertion of national, like, or a rejection of national sovereignty. It's so. He was shot dead in the parking lot in the Temple of Surrey after evening prayers on June 18th. There is no reason for India to want this to be known. So my guess is that right now in India, Modi's government is very upset that they left enough evidence for there to be a trace. You know what I mean? Like that. My guess is that this is really not something that they wanted the Canadian government to find out. They probably are doing this in the pursuit of like their broader. It's kind of like when we missile striked Soleimani. You know, like we did it on an Iraqi airport. We killed Soleimani. We violated national sovereignty. Blah blah blah. And it was like, why do we do that? Well, we did that for fascist dick waving. My guess is that this is a kind of dick waving, except this is the kind they didn't want to take credit for. More of a just like, ooh, haha, how did he get shot kind of deal. I don't know. I don't know whether or not this guy is actually a terrorist, but the idea of them doing this just because he was a Khalistani is insane to me. I mean, I guess it's possible that they just did something that's extremely irrational, but I don't think, like, I know fascists do that, but I don't know much about India's intelligence service. I don't think the intelligence service would just be like, yeah, well, sure, whatever, dude. Okay, it looks like when Nijar first came to Canada about 25 years ago, he claimed he'd been beaten and tortured by Indian police. His refugee claim was denied. According to his immigration records, he used a fraudulent passport. His application was rejected, and 11 days later, Nijar married a BC woman who sponsored him to immigrate as her spouse. Okay, so he tried to enter the country on a fake passport, and then panic married a Canadian citizen so he could stay here. This right here makes it seem like he was part of a militant group. The like refugee fleeing fake passport like this is a level of urgency which seems proportional to a very strong desire to not get killed by the Indian state. He said no, but immigration officials considered it. On his application form, he was asked whether he was associated with a group that used or advocated armed struggle or violence to reach political, religious, or social objectives. He said no. Oh, well, that settles it. Immigration officials considered it a marriage of convenience and rejected his application. He appealed to the courts and lost in 2001, but he later identified himself as a Canadian citizen. Wait, when did he actually become a citizen then? He traveled around the world and called for a referendum on Khalistan and called for anti-Sikh violence in India to be recognized as genocide. In 2014, a few months after India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi, a Hindu nationalist, took office, Indian authorities issued an arrest warrant for Nijar. They described him as the mastermind of a militant Khalistan Tiger Force. Okay, so this makes it seem like he wasn't a terrorist. If he actually was a terrorist, they would have put out that arrest warrant. If they were going to put out an arrest warrant, they would have done it earlier, like not 15 years after they fled the country. This seems like Modi is just trying to crack down on expats and dissidents around the world. He was accused of being involved in the 2007 bombing of a cinema in Punjab. A 2016 Interpol notice against him alleged he was a, quote, key conspirator in the attack. He was accused of recruiting and fundraising, a charge he denied. I don't know whether or not he actually was a terrorist or a terrorist supporter. He is also, keep in mind, allegedly an advocate for Khalistan, which is something that I think is like a defensible project, you know? Sikhs are legitimately persecuted. This is kind of like a Kurdistan deal. So, like, whether or not he was is kind of immaterial to me. It doesn't really matter. Assassinating a Canadian citizen on Canadian soil is fucking insane. Like, actually fucking insane. I can't believe the Indian government would do that. Like, oh my god. Vosh at the G20 summit last week, Trudeau and Modi were visibly frosty. Apparently, during a flight delay, one of the Canadian attachés went to Britain to inform them that Canadian-Indian relationships would be worsening. Sounds like the Five Eyes are all aware/involved. Well, clearly not enough to stop it from happening. Isn't this super scary? It's pretty bad, but it's not going to lead to war. I don't know why there are so many like super bloodthirsty people in chat. Somebody said it's a shame India has nukes, as though we should like invade India, a nation of 1.4 billion people, because one Canadian citizen was assassinated. Come on. It's not like our intel services don't kill people abroad all the time. Vosh, this is an actual act of war. No, it's not. Yeah, we have a lot of non-credible defense chatters. Diplomats expelled. Oh shit, how recent is this? Updated 9 p.m. PDT, 46 minutes ago. Expelled a top Indian diplomat as investigates what Prime Minister Justin Trudeau called credible allegations. Trudeau told Parliament he brought up the slaying with Indian Prime Minister Modi at Group of 20 summit last week in New Delhi. He said he told Modi that any Indian government involvement would be unacceptable and that he asked for cooperation in the investigation. Oh, dude, they totally did it then. They're confident enough that a few days ago, Trudeau directly asked Modi, like, hey, you did this, did you? Jesus Christ. What are the consequences of this going to be? What can they do? There's not going to be any war, like economic. They're not going to sanction over a... Would they sanction over an assassination? No, they're going to cut diplomatic ties. At least they're going to scale back diplomatic ties. Can they just get away with it? I mean, the Saudis killed an American journalist. He wasn't a citizen. He wasn't a citizen. He was in Canada for 20 years. He was never made a citizen. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Canadian citizen. He's on Canadian soil for 20 years. Oh my God. Look at what India stated. Such unsubstantiated allegations seek to shift the focus from Khalistani terrorists and extremists who have been provided shelter in Canada and continue to threaten India's sovereignty and territorial integrity. You're just admitting to it. Hey, we didn't assassinate this guy. Also, I don't appreciate you shifting focus away from the disgusting Sikh terrorists who you harbor and who need to be stopped at any cost. Okay. Trade talks been derailed. Canada just canceled a trade mission to India that was planned for the fall. 2% of Canada is Sikh? Wow, I had no idea. That's way more than I thought. Holy shit. I'm not looking at that, Hexel. In hindsight, this is exactly what one would expect from Modi as a response, isn't it? No, India doesn't benefit from worsening relations with... Like, okay, think about it this way, okay? China and America have frostier relations than India and Canada did before, but if China killed an American on American soil, it would be like global news. it would like reshape the world. Like that would be like a spark in a powder with a powder keg. It would be like it would be so significant. But India doesn't benefit from this. India isn't like Russia. Russia is buried under sanctions and is only keeping afloat because it can sell because it can just sell its oil, natural resources, to maintain its war effort to countries that aren't part of a Western trade, like bloc that are sanctioning it, like India and China and stuff. China has, I think, Modi benefits, but India doesn't. You're probably right. Yeah, you're probably right. It probably literally is like it's to the detriment of India, but Modi and like the hardline partisans and Hindu nationalists in his government benefit from like posturing strength and assassinating foreign opposition. That's spooky. Like when we found out China was running secret police stations on American soil. Yeah, but that's kind of different. The Chinese government was basically just trying to keep tabs on its citizens and people over here. They weren't like arresting or assassinating Americans. It was basically like a spy network thing, more so than a police agency thing. Oh yeah, Farasani, for sure. I mean, it's bad, but it's not quite the same. They also killed him using 2 masked gunmen, which is insane. Yeah, well, that's the classic, right? You mean they wanted to get caught to feed the fascist base? No, I don't think even Modi would want to get caught for this. Yeah, really weird. We'll have to see how things pan out. I don't know.